haven't really done something like this, so I'm just gonna speak what's on my mind most times. Yeah, I hope you guys had a good day today. I had a pretty good day, actually. I went to get some sewing supplies earlier. I've been looking for nice antique textiles or vintage textiles, and I went to the shop in Montreal. She had a lot of stuff. Actually, she had really cool antique French cotton threads that when I searched up, the company wasn't even online at all, and I was like, I couldn't verify the authenticity of the thread and the age that she so claims it to be, but I will say it looked very, very old. Definitely antique. Definitely something that I wanted, but it was $25 per skein. I think that's how you say it. Which, as of right now, I'm not too involved in sewing to buy it for that much. But who knows, after I make this quilt that I've been working on, then maybe I'll splurge a bit. But yeah, I've been looking for antique textiles and vintage faded textiles because I wanted to add more fabric to this quilt I've been making. I went around a few thrift stores and just ripped up a few pieces of clothing. So I went to the men's section particularly to find some short and long sleeve things. It's actually pretty hard nowadays, which is so sad to say, to find natural fabric clothing. Like, a lot of the clothing I was looking were either blends with polyester, so it would be cotton and polyester, or it would just be purely synthetic, which is, I don't like personally. I just love natural fabrics. They operate so well, and I want natural fabrics because I love doing natural dyes. So, it needs to be a cellulose fiber or a protein fiber, and synthetics just aren't that at all. They don't have celluloid or cellulose or protein. It's just synthetic. So yeah, that's why I was in search for cotton and or linen for this summer quilt that I've been making. It's taking a little bit long, but it's something that I really want to keep making because I just want to have something to throw on my bed, and I love the aesthetic of quilts, to be honest. Or like pieced fabric is so beautiful to me. There's this Japanese, I don't even know like what to call it, technique, art, whatever. I just don't like okay, tangent here, but I don't like when people sensationalize like everyday things from Asian countries. Like, oh, look at this Japanese technique of so and so and so, and suddenly it's so prestigious and exotic, like whatever. But there is a technique in Japan. It's called sashiko and boro, which is, back in the olden days, people who didn't have much fabric because they either could not afford it, or they just wanted to repurpose old scraps of clothing. They would just stitch together fabric pieces, and a lot of the ones that I see online, at least, are indigo dyed. So from the natural, the indigo plant, so it fades so beautifully. There's some patches that go pretty light, and there's some patches that get way deeper. I think it has to do with primarily UV exposure, if I'm not mistaken. And it's just so beautiful to look at, all these different shades of blue. And there's also some that are dyed with persimmon, I think they use the unripe fruit. It has a lot of tannins, so it lends itself to this kind of beautiful brown color that I know oxidizes as well, and it gets darker with age, and it's just so pretty. So that's what I've been drawing my inspiration from, at least for some of the stitches. I also want to make a quilt, not this one that I'm working on, that's more inspired by kanta embroidery, or not embroidery, kanta quilting, which is so beautiful. It's like from the Indian subcontinent. Let me just search from where, because I don't want to say things out of my ass. So let's see, where is it from? Okay, it's from the Bengal region, Bangladesh, West Bengal, and Odisha. But yeah, it's so beautiful because they're hand stitched, and it's just these rows of running stitches all throughout the quilt, usually in one direction. And yeah, it's perfect because it's thin. It doesn't have the batting usually, which is the thing that is in the middle, sandwiched between the two layers of the quilt. And it's usually made from saris that are, you know, scraps or discarded or just laying around, repurposing it. It's so beautiful. So yeah, I've been wanting to make one of those also, since I'm already making this current quilt, hand quilt, like I'm stitching it by hand. I don't know if I want to make the kanta by hand also, or just use a sewing machine, which I kind of don't like the vibe of. I think I'm just gonna stitch it by hand still. Yeah, I'm gonna stitch it by hand because I want to be involved with my fabric. That's one of the primary reasons I'm making it. One, because, you know, obviously I want a quilt. I love the look of them and the utility of a quilt and the way it drapes on my bed. But also I love the slow stitching vibe of it. I know that, you know, stitching is just so meditative at some points where I kind of just lose everything and lose all perception except for the stitch that I'm doing. Except when it, oh my gosh, one thing I hate about hand stitching is when the eye of the needle is just way too big for the weave of the fabric. So sometimes I'll use bed sheets which have extremely tight weaving. So it's very dense, is that the word? I don't know. It's just very tight weaving, so there's very little space between the threads that are woven. And I'll use a huge needle with a huge eye, and then I'm having to like force the needle through the fabric, and it's just really annoying. It disrupts the flow of the threading and the sewing, and it, instead of being meditative, it just becomes very laborious, and honestly not fun, which defeats the purpose of why I'm doing this. But I am excited to finish it and have it on my bed. I'm also, however, trying to just let go of the idea of finishing it rather, and just focus on sewing everything slowly and methodically, and imbue something of me in it, which I always try to do. I think there's very little areas in my life where I don't try to constantly imbue it with something of me. I'm trying to think, maybe like, I don't know, brushing my teeth. There's nothing really to imbue there. I'm just cleaning my teeth, something like that. Or, I mean, washing my face is also ritualistic, so yeah, something like that. But yeah, that's what I did today. Oh, I also went to get some beautiful, beautiful aged tea today. It's an oolong from supposedly 1995. It's from Taiwan. The province is Taiwan. It's beautiful. It's very thin in texture. It's not very thick like a lot of aged teas can be. This is a baozhong, which is a twisted style of tea. So it's not like those typical Taiwanese oolongs that are rolled, like the dongting oolongs that you might find, or the Tiguanyin even, the Iron Goddess of Mercy teas, which are usually rolled. This one was twisted. It also does not taste like it had been re-roasted since its creation. A lot of teas, especially aged oolongs that you find, will have been re-roasted multiple times to refresh the flavor. So a lot of times aged oolongs really start to all taste the same because all you taste is the roast rather than the tea. And that's kind of I don't want to say a problem, but it's a very characteristic style of aged oolongs, especially heavily roasted aged oolongs. So a lot of the da hong pao that you'll see, or even the dongting aged oolongs you'll see, will have been re-roasted, and they will all have that roasted brown sugar, smoky, and charcoal profile to them, which this one didn't have. Because it had just been roasted in its creation, I think it, dissipated by a lot. And all I tasted this time around was something vaguely dried fruit-y. And on the website, they described it as dried figs, and I actually agree with that sentiment a lot, and that description. And yeah, it was quite thin. It was very beautiful. However, it didn't last too many steeps. I think I was only able to manage 3 good steeps from it, which is not a lot at all. I'm also someone who doesn't really stretch my tea out for very long. I know a lot of people, if you guys are not familiar with gong fu cha, or the Chinese way of drinking tea, it's also Taiwanese. You take some tea in a high leaf amount, more than you would use in, let's say, a tea bag, and you steep that tea multiple times over multiple different courses. And yeah, like as you steep, each steeping will have a new layer unlocking it. So the first steeps usually unlock the top notes, the most volatile compounds. And as you work through the steeps gradually unearth the more bassy notes and the woodier notes that are buried underneath the tea. I'm not someone who, especially for oolongs, I'm not someone who really explores it to its full extent, because I know that there's some people that will really do, I'm not joking, like 20 to 30 steeps on the tea. I just don't have the patience for that, and I don't have the desire to extract that much. It reminds me of this thing I read in English class. I forgot exactly what it said, but it just was something about, like, don't beat a poem. Like, you're whipping the poem. You're torturing the poem and asking for its meaning. Like, you don't have to do that. That's what it feels like sometimes when I think of the notion of extracting literally everything from the tea. At some point, you're just drinking hot water with a little bit of, the things that came out of the tea, and it's just, for me at least, it's not enjoyable. It's kind of like you don't need to slice the tea into like 10 million different layers to appreciate it. Anyway, that's an ambulance or a police car, I don't know, that you just heard. But yes, the tea is just, it's not something to take for me in that manner. It's a holistic thing. Like, of course I'm gonna want to take the different layers of tea, but I don't want to just beat it until it's crying and begging for mercy. It's like, no, like, you have to toss me now. It's okay. And I do toss it, and I had 3 good steeps. I pushed it to 5 steeps, and by the time it was the 5th steep, I was just like, this is hot water at this point. So while it was beautiful and transparent and reminiscent of dried figs, it was very thin and fleeting, and for the price point, it was not something I'd buy again, because it also didn't make me feel things. There are some teas that, although don't have much flavor, the feeling is very grounding and very rooting, and something that can't be explained. This is what I mean by sometimes tea can be very spiritual, because when I think of spirituality, it's not necessarily something that has to do with a connection with a higher power or the divine or anything. It's more so about the relationship I build with something, such as the tea. It can be so gratifying to know that I have a relationship with this tea leaf. First of all, that is able to extract its own essence into hot water, and I'm able to partake in that. It's very beautiful. And also knowing that this tea has been aged. This is from 1995. It's 30 years of this tea aging, building a relationship with time and transforming within that time period as well. I have so much respect for this art form. Truly, it's an art form for me. And this relationship with tea, it's so beautiful. That's why I also love pu'er so much. That's another rabbit hole I can go into, but right now it's too technical. Maybe I'll make another one just about pu'er. But yes, that was my oolong experience today, which was very good, but again, short-lived. What else did I do? I think, today I also went to get dosa. It was really good. I got the Mysore dosa, and I got idli to go. Idli is so good, but I don't want to pay $7 for 3 pieces of idli. It's just 3 pieces. Oh my god, I can eat that in like 5 minutes. So I think I'm going to start making idli, just so I can have it, because I love eating idli. It's so yummy. But I don't have the supplies. Like, I don't have the steamer for it. It's pretty accessible here, but something to buy again. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's just too good. I want to start making some. I love food. Today I ate pretty good. Like, yeah, I ate the dosa and the idli, and in the morning I ate some leftovers I had. I made this peanut stew, peanut curry, vaguely Southeast Asian, vaguely Thai / Indonesian / Filipino flavors. Some pan Southeast Asian mix. I also had some soy chunks, which doesn't sound appealing, but it's very good when prepared right. I love them. And I had botok tempeh, which is steamed tempeh with coconut, grated coconut, and some banana leaf, with a bunch of spices like coriander seeds, white pepper, Indonesian bay leaf, shallots, garlic, chilies. The banana leaf was so annoying to find. Like, it's so expensive to buy banana leaves. Oh my gosh, it was like, I think $2 per leaf, which is not that big, because back home that's literally free. I could just go into a field and be merry and just literally cut down trees, which is, I don't know. It was free, and I have to pay that much. And the leaf wasn't even that big. It was a small banana leaf, but I managed. I think I made the botok tempeh maybe like 2 weeks ago, and I have one left in the freezer, and it's so good. It's probably one of my favorite tempeh dishes so far. It has yet to be topped. It's so freaking good, guys. Try making it, please. Search up botok tempeh, BOTOK tempeh, TMPE. So good. Speaking of that, I've been eating so much Asian food lately, specifically Southeast Asian, and East Asian. That whole sphere has been my diet pretty much for a while now. I'm really enjoying the flavors of each. Like sometimes first of all, I'm very biased to Southeast Asian flavors, of course, because it's what I grew up with. Although, like I still love other cuisines, but it's these 3 Asian cuisines that I gravitate to the most, usually. I love Indian food, and South Asian food in general is so good. I think South Indian cuisine is the most, I don't want to say, like, relatable, is that right? The most, the flavors I'm more accustomed to than Northern India, because, Southern India and Sri Lanka also has a lot of coconut milk and pandan, which we also use, and it's just so good. It's so good. It's very rich and layered. And I was talking to myself about this earlier, but I'm really obsessed with, like, there's this niche. It's not niche, I don't know what I'm saying, but it's just this thought that I keep reiterating in my head about how delicious the meals are, or the dishes are, that have a very fatty base with very fresh spices and herbs to complement it, that cuts through it. I was thinking about this, like, a lot of the complexity in food and life in general, but I'm talking about food right now. It has to do with a lot of opposites and the intermingling of opposites. So, for example, in Southeast Asian food, I see a lot of fish sauce that is usually always balanced with something acidic. So that can be vinegar or lime or calamansi or tamarind. So you have the salty and the sour, and it's almost always, Southeast Asia loves sugar. So there's always like this balance of sugar added into that as well. So you have the salty, sour, and sweet, which is so beautiful. And to cut through the acidity, especially of the lime or the tamarind, the fattiness is so necessary. There's actually so much interplay with it, because the sourness cuts the sweetness. So a lot of like very sour sauces usually have a lot of sugar to cut it. If you try to make a vinegar sauce, if you add, I'm not even joking, equal parts of sugar, it will not taste sweet, because the power of the acidity really overrides the sweetness. But it plays together really well. In the same way that if you have a fatty base, like coconut milk or peanut, the acidity will cut right through that as well. So the interplay of that, like the pulling of these flavors, my mom used to say when I was a kid that the flavors were fighting each other. She's like, oh my god, it's so good, it's so complex, because the flavors are fighting each other. So beautiful. But yeah, and on top of that, guys, these are just the base flavors. I haven't even talked about the aromatics yet too. Like, on top of that, you have the aromatics of the garlic, the shallots, and the ginger, which all have their own properties. You know, garlic is very pungent until it's cooked, and then becomes this sweet, it's more mellow, it's more sweet. Same for the onion or shallots. It becomes more sweet as it cooks down. The ginger has this warming quality to it that just makes the dish so alive. And yet again, on top of that, you also have the spices, the seeds and spices that contribute their own volatile oils and deep flavors that contribute to it all. And I find that all these things they're so needed. They need to be together. It's this whole melange of things that make the food, obviously, but the relationship between these, it's what constitutes that complexity of the food. I don't know what I'm trying to get at. I'm just trying to say that, wow, like, food can be so complex, and it can be on a molecular level, like a food scientist, or it can be something less empirical and more experiential, like what I'm saying, of all these different flavors fighting each other. You know, there's no quantitative measure, I guess, unless you fucking go with some molecular biology and chemistry. Not biology, but chemistry of these compounds. But I'm talking purely taste-wise. These conflicts need to happen in your food for it to be complex. That being said, simple food is also really, really good. But I'm just drawn to very complex tastes. Complex meaning a lot going on, and opulent, not like superior. But yeah, I love it. I love that concept, especially of like that rich curry or rich stew, and you pair it with something very bland as a canvas like rice, which provides that textural element and the carbiness of it. Like, you have your fat from the stew and the carb, and like it just combines, and like you're satiated. Like, I don't know, it's just so beautiful. One of my favorite things to eat is freshly steamed rice, like the kind that's not too loose. Like, basmati can be good sometimes, but for me, I really like sushi rice because I like the sticky rices. But that with a ladle of a really thick stew or a really thick curry on top, and it just soaks into the rice, it's like there's no better dish, I fear. And it can be from any cuisine also. Just that combination of the carb and the fatty sauce, so good. It's something I think about often, and something I try to eat often as well. But yeah, there's just too much in the world to experience and enjoy. Let's see. Oh my gosh, it's been 30 minutes of this rant. Maybe I'll go for 5 more minutes, who knows. But yeah, that was my day. It's so nice to be able to just spill out what I'm thinking, because a lot of times it's very internalized, and you know, when you internalize things too much, you don't have a chance to reassess what it is you're thinking, and you don't have a chance to reevaluate your thoughts. At least when you voice it out loud, your thoughts manifest into sound, and in a way it becomes part of your waking reality, and it becomes part of the reality you surround yourself with. That's why I think spoken word is so powerful also. It's that thing that people say when you speak it into existence. It's just something that's so like beautiful and so necessary for you to evolve. So yes, I think people should talk to themselves a lot more. It's as much as it seems a monologue, it actually is a dialogue with yourself, because you'll be saying something, and something in your mind will deconstruct whatever it is you're saying as something to analyze and something to literally think about. But yeah, try talking to yourself more. It's something that I, for a long time, forgot about. I used to talk to myself a lot when I was a kid, but recently, I've been getting back into it because it's very valuable. I used to make unboxing videos when I was like 7 years old, but unboxing videos without the video. It would literally be me talking to a fake audience, unboxing my stuff and putting it back together and redoing that like 10 times. Now, I'm not saying that that's the method, but it shows the dialogue of me with myself, I guess. Yeah, it's something I think about sometimes. But yeah. Also, random detail. My tea kettle is destroyed, so I've been using the kettle, like the water kettle boilers, you know, the plastic ones that you plug in. They're great, but I do miss my copper kettle. I ruined it accidentally because I had left it on the burner, and it got destroyed. So it's a metal kettle, it's a copper kettle, but the inside is lined with tin because you're not supposed to boil or cook anything in raw copper. So it's lined with tin, which has a melting point of 220 something Celsius. So you're always supposed to have something in the vessel so that, you know, whatever it is you put inside it acts as a heat sink. So the metal never ever goes above whatever it is you put in it. So water, it would never go above 100 Celsius. So the tin is safe usually, but I left it with water boiling on the stove for so long that the water completely evaporated and it started melting the tin inside. And I only realized when I smelt it, I was like, oh my gosh, what is that? And then I quickly realized that I had my kettle on the burner for God knows how long. I think it was an hour plus at that point. And I was so sad because the outside literally turned into this weird color. I think it turned into like this greenish black color. And I quickly dunked it in water and it sizzled a lot. And I knew when I opened that kettle, when I took the lid off, I knew that inside would just be copper and there would be no tin. And of course, I opened the lid and inside was raw copper. The tin had completely melted and I was so sad. So that's ruined. I have to get a new kettle. Maybe it's an opportunity to get a beautiful, beautiful kettle, but that was very precious to me. But we continue. So for now, I've been using a plastic kettle, which is fine. But yes, I do miss my kettle. Oh my gosh. I want to get an antique copper kettle, but it's hard to find linings for it that don't have lead, because a lot of antique copper vessels have lead in them. The lining especially, obviously, might have lead, which is very alarming, especially because you're boiling it. It might leach a lot of lead into the water, which obviously isn't ideal. But yeah, wow. I love utilitarian supplies that you are able to elevate. I just think that there's so many things in my daily life, or in people's daily lives, that could be more purposeful. And yeah, it doesn't have to be expensive. It just has to be purposeful and it has to work for you. For example, scissors. You know, you could just get $1 scissors that would break and you have to buy again, or you can get beautiful scissors that will last you a while. There are some very inexpensive scissors that are very beautiful, and Yes. It just makes cutting things more ritualistic. I'm finding that ritual is very important to me. Ritual is something that not only do I look forward to, but just live in. I live in an ecosystem of rituals, and everyone does. And everyone, excuse me, is it everyone do? No, it's everyone does. Everyone does live. Yes, everyone does live in an ecosystem of rituals. The only thing that people need to do is to realize that you live in rituals. That's the only thing you need to realize. Because whether you like it or not, you are participating in rituals. There are social rituals like greetings, obviously religious rituals, spiritual rituals. There are self-care rituals, skincare routine or nighttime ritual. Those are rituals, it's true. Because it's something you do with intention, not just mindlessly. It's something that, it's not an attachment to something. An attachment is something that's very binding. Rituals are supposed to connect, and connection rarely binds. Connection is something that happens organically. At least for me, my view of connection is it's not something that binds, it's something that makes contact, and it glows, and it sings, and it embodies love. As abstract as that sounds. So yes, when you do your skincare, you are building something with yourself and with the products you use. Yeah. So when you use your moisturizer, you're making a connection with that to your face, and you're rubbing it in. You're subconsciously telling yourself and your body that you are worth taking care of, and you are worth this nourishment and hydration and whatever else you might say. And it's just a way of winding down and connecting with your body and your thoughts, and it's beautiful. It connects everything together. That's why I love rituals. That's why I love tea. That's why I love art and everything else that has to do with it. And I think life is just art. Art is life, life is art. Inseparable. Without life, there's no art. Without art, there's no life. And life is not just life as we know it, biological life. Life is more than that. Life is so everything. Everything is life. The abiotic and the biotic are both life. It's the relationship and the interplay. It's the core essence of everything. I don't mean to be, what's the word for that? I don't even know what the word is, but I don't want, it's the word that represents, like, that I'm just putting facts out there as if it's facts, or putting opinions out there as if they're facts, but it's just how I feel. I just think life is more than just biological life. I think life extends into far denser and ethereal realms that we just can't contact without art. And art is that etheric field in which people hover and are surrounded by. It's just so beautiful. Art is expression, and expression is art, and vice versa, and everything. Yeah. Now I'm just getting into very non-dual concepts, which I'm very passionate about. I love non-dualism. But I don't particularly subscribe to all schools of non-dualism. Like Advaita Vedanta, I don't really subscribe with too much. I know in the past I say I did, but now I don't so much. Advaita Vedanta is like kind of the denial of material things, and everything is Maya, is illusion, and you have to say no, not that. It's very dismissive. I don't want to say dismissive, but it's dismissive of the illusion of reality. But I am not of that. I am embracing reality as the ultimate, well, not ultimate, as one of the most sacred manifestations of the divine. I think reality is that. And yeah, reality reality is so intimate, it's so tactile, it's so grounded. And yes, a lot of people say it's the lowest, you know, state or vibration, whatever. I'm not talking about new age spirituality, I'm talking about actual scriptural texts of the gross body. Gross being not nasty, you know, but gross meaning the most gross, the most tactile, the most embodied aspect, the gross body. And then you have the subtle body, and then the causal body. These are all jargon if you don't know what I'm talking about. But I think that physicality is so not only intimate, but one of the ways to get to know the divine the most intimately, because it is so present. The divine is not just transcendent, it is imminent, it's right here. It's with us, through us, and beyond us. It's something that's so permeating and so unexplainably right to me. And I love it because I think that, you know, every way to the divine, or even if you just call it yourself, to your own power, the connection with something, and knowing that it is not just this physicality that we have, is something, number one, very comforting, and two, so powerful because it is so expansive. It is something that expands your identity. It's not something that shrinks it. I think a lot of people, when they think about these things, it's very hard, you know, to let go of attachments because it seems very discarding. Like you're discarding everything of you. But again, I think the life of an ascetic, or someone who denies worldly pleasures, is good for some people, but for a lot of people it's not very realistic. And I think the way to the divine sometimes is to appreciate and really involve yourself with the beauty of creation, not only of just creation, but art and life and the breath of life, which can be hard to realize. Sometimes it's a little too abstract. And I also don't like saying these because it's very proselytizing sounding. But when I do get into those states, I'm just thinking about how beautiful everything is. And I'm not talking about this from a Abrahamic point of view. I am just not of the Abrahamic faith. I'm of the Dharmic faiths. So it's different. I think it's a very different view on everything because it's not dual. It's a non-dual belief. There's no separation at all. It's just the realization that you really have to work through, the realization that everything is interconnected with the divine, and keeping that so that you can feel immense bliss that way. But yeah, and I think the most beautiful aspect of this all is everyone has their own path, and every path is so valid, because who am I to say that the divine manifests in one way and one way only? That's very limiting. It's almost insulting. How could you contain such power? You can't. It's impossible. The divine manifests into multitudes of forms, billions, trillions, quadrillions of forms, and I am not the person to dictate whether one is invalid or not. I have no authority over it. I just don't. It's just so beautiful that way. So yeah, all paths to me are so valid, and no path is valid, because as long as you have a connection with something, whether that be yourself or your passion or your art, that is your way. That is your way to your light, and that is what makes me cry I realize like how manifold life is for different people. It's just so encompassing, and it can be so overwhelming a lot of times. And the person you see on the bus, they have their own sets of beliefs. The person you see at the store, the cashier, everything is really, well, we are an ecosystem, of course, but yeah, everyone just has their own belief, trying to make the best of what we have in this world. And yeah, I think all I'm saying is just stick with what you believe in and what you know, and you will be good to yourself that way. You'll honor yourself that way. If not for anyone else or anything else, then for yourself. And yeah, it reminds me of that quote where, if you can't save anyone, or it's something like saving yourself is more than enough, something like that, but just save yourself. It's so beautiful. It's very rebellious to save yourself, I think.